These unique numbers.
Sound check number
Yeah, the numbers are good.
11, Earls.
Connell, number 10.
Vogel, number 9, number 9, number 9.
Tontown, number 8.
O'Brien, number 7.
Clerk, number 6.
Counselor Cameron, number 5.
Zede at number 4.
Junta, number 3.
Devlin, number 2.
Cronin, number 1.
We'll be the judge of that.
Tony, you paid them to give you number 1 or what?
I guess I was promoted. I don't know.
Congratulations.
I like TB12.
Time before we begin our first meeting of the year, I'd like to just remember a couple individuals and say something about another individual who's in the hospital. 2 people passed away, were 2 former police officers, Paul Nakus and Mike Fall. And also remember in your thoughts, Kurt Stokinger, the Boston police officer who was shot and just got out of the hospital either today or yesterday, and wish him a speedy recovery. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Where's the kids? I gotta tell the Daily News, they had the photo op of the year, all those kids doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and we saw the mayor of Amesbury. That's all I gotta say. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call on City Council meeting January 11, 2016.
Councilor Cameron.
Present.
Councilor Con.
Present.
Councilor Cronin.
Present.
Councilor Devlin.
Present.
Councilor Earl.
Present.
Councilor Agaman.
Here.
Councilor Junta.
Present.
Councilor Tonto.
Here.
That's Italian. Councilor Vogel.
Present.
Councilor Z.
Present.
Council President O'Brien.
Here,
All present.
you do the committee assignment?
I have it on the schedule. Typically, we would do it now. 1, 2, 3. Would you like me to read them, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. These are the committee assignments for the city council for the year 2016. Budget and Finance, Chairperson Tontar, Cameron, and Cronin. Joint Education, Chairperson Junta, Councilors Devlin and Earls. Planning and Development, Chairperson Cameron, Councilors Connell and Argument. Public Utilities, Chairperson Eigenman, Councilors Vogel and Zede. Neighborhood and City Services, Chairperson Connell, Councilors Zede and O'Brien. Public Safety, Chairperson Cronin, Councilors Junta and Tontar. License and Permits, Chairperson Vogel, Councilors Earls and Devlin. General Government, 3 councilors, O'Brien, Vogel, and Mayor Holliday, 2 councilors and 1 mayor. Rules Committee, Chairperson Cronin, Councilors Junta and O'Brien.
I tried to take into account what everyone wanted. Unfortunately, I couldn't put 10 people on Budget and Finance, I couldn't put 8 people in Planning, or 9 people on Public Safety, and 7 on Joint Ed, so I did the best of my ability, so hopefully everyone's happy with their assignments. Move on to meeting schedule.
Meeting schedule, I should read it maybe for the record, Mr.
Yes.
President. January 11th and January 25th. February 8th and February 29th. March 14th and Tuesday, March 29th. April 11th and April 25th. May 9th and Tuesday, May 31st. June 13th and June 27th. July 11th. August 8th, August 29th. September 12th, September 26th. October 11th, which is a Tuesday, October 31st. November 14th, November 28th, and lastly, December 12th. Those are the council meetings, all in this chamber, all at 7:30 for the year 2016.
For the record, the 11th is my birthday.
So noted.
Need a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Council,
And the rules, Mr. President, as you know, are not changed from last year. We need to vote them in every year. They are what they are, subject to any changes.
Motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Late file items?
The only late file item would be the mayor's update.
What's the wish of the council?
Motion and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With that. Public comment? Susan Vaccaro?
I would like to thank you for your consideration of the school security grant, the school security at Newburyport High School, and would encourage you to make the security across all the schools in the city the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Bergholm?
Yeah, I just want to echo what the superintendent said. We've been able to bring the security at the Bresnahan and Knockmolan facilities up to modern-day standards as far as school security goes. And I think it's time that we get the high school to that same level as well. So I want to thank you for your approval of that transfer. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Spinney?
I just want to reiterate what they were saying. The need to update the security at the high school is truly necessary, and it should happen this year, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Brendan Coffey?
Yes, I'm being proposed by Mayor Holliday for the opening on the Water and Sewer Commission, and I'm looking forward to filling that position if the council sees fit to approve it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's it for public comment.
Do you hand them
Mayor's
off?
update?
President Ryan, members of the council, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the start of your 2016 term. I look forward to working with you over the next year and have truly enjoyed our one-on-one meetings as we begin to identify your priorities, objectives as we go forward. Still have a few of those meetings left to do, and I thank you for your time and meeting with myself and my chief of staff, so thank you for that. A couple quick updates. Clipper Rail Trail Phase 2. That project is in 90% design. It went out for bid, and unfortunately, like so much of what's happening, it came in over budget. It was originally spec to be $3.3 million. It came in at 4.8. So Mass DOT is looking currently at the lowest bid, and they had me sign an agreement that they would be willing to pay up to 110% for this project. And I spoke with our state rep this morning, talking about the, just tremendous amount of work over the last 7 to 8 years of getting Phase 2 on track, and that between CPC funding, free cash funds, we have expended a tremendous amount of resources to complete this section of our rail trail. So there's a little more information about the next steps that Mass DOT will take in my update, and I'm hoping that we will be successful in our willingness to fund this project and start it in the spring. I certainly will keep you posted on their review of that project. The garage and intermodal facility, as you know, there's been a lot of conversations that we've had. We began this process once we received the $5 million grant to add to the $2 million federal funds from the state funding, and then in earnest began working and selecting a design team. We had originally thought that at the request of the abutters, a north-south orientation would work best. Unfortunately, as you know, we've had issues with some of the contributing homes to our architectural significance in the city, and so had to go back to the east-west orientation. Then, as we began to move forward, true costs were really emerging. The number that has been out there in the public is 16 million, which would include the land, us, the city, working with NED to purchase the land, as well as increased costs for an appropriate design. We have begun meeting individually with the abutters to address some of their individual concerns and issues. Those meetings began last week. We had another 2 today. We'll continue to meet with the rest of the abutters and begin to look at some of the mitigation that they're asking for. We have a large meeting tomorrow in Boston at NED's office to meet with their legal team and begin outline all the things we knew we need to do in order to move this process forward. In addition, we had a very productive meeting with Joseph Giordani, who is the coordinator or director of the parking program in Portsmouth. And we did that because if you look at the other garages that, or the devoted facilities that the RTA has developed, Haverhill, Lawrence, and Lowell, those are traditionally commuter garages, and they really don't match the model that we're looking for downtown. This garage that they have in Portsmouth has a wait list of 140 businesses for permits in the garage for monthly permits and leases. Their whole parking program generates a net of $5 million that they take care of snow plowing and street paving and those kinds of things downtown. In addition, they give $2 million into the general fund. They're willing to continue meeting with us if we have questions or concerns. We would like to continue our work with John Burke, who helped us with the paid parking program in terms of looking at revenue estimates for number of spaces. As we go forward, we'll continue to update you on that. So next steps is we are going to move forward on obviously the meeting with NED tomorrow. We have to answer a series of questions that the councils have raised regarding construction costs versus operating costs, and we're working on compiling that information. We need to have a letter of intent from New England Development and the city indicating the agreement to transfer the land and the money secured for final design by the end of March, or we are at risk of losing the $2 million from the federal government. So we'll continue to keep you updated as we go, as we obtain the pieces of information that you have asked us for. Just a couple quick updates on the school district. Last week we had a public forum Tuesday night on the FY17 budget. We had probably about 30 combination of parents, teachers, and other interested people who attended that meeting. It was very productive and very positive, and the people who were there really appreciated the opportunity to weigh in on the school budget this early in the process. Because as you know, as the city has started the FY17 budget, so has the leadership team at the school. In addition, we had a retreat last week on Thursday night for organizational purposes of our new school committee. And we also had the opportunity to discuss the status of the Brown School. As you know, this has been a concern of mine for quite some time, but we had agreed to let our school committee member, Bruce Menon, take some time and do his educational due diligence. But we were at the point where we're at a critical juncture in terms of this building, in terms of its needs. So as a result of that discussion, and there's discussions that you have all been privy to in terms of the status of that building, that the school committee has agreed on March 7th to decommission the Brown School and give it to control of the city, and then we can begin talking about disposition of that particular building. You'll know that you have a transfer before you. 100,000 will come from the schools, and the other 243,000 or 42,000 will come. We're requesting from free cash to upgrade the security at the high school. I can't emphasize enough how critical this is. If you haven't been to the high school, I'm sure that Steve Burkholm or Mike Testa, the assistant principal, is behind me, or my parent, the principal, would be happy to give you a tour and talk to you about what's going on at the school so that you have firsthand information about how antiquated that security system is and how some of the cameras are not even working. We've got to get that system in comparable shape to the other security systems that we have for our other schools. We are working with our grant writer as well as Representative CalForce to look for additional funding for this project. Kelly School final reviews are in place. Happy to say, after a fairly long period, I think, of due diligence by Diamond Security. They are going before the Zoning Board of Appeals, I think, tomorrow, and then a final review by the Planning Board. At that point, by our planning office anticipates by late March, they will be ready to move forward on that project and close up that property, giving the property to Diamond Security, and the sale price of that property is $750,000 that will be coming to the city. Wastewater treatment facility, again, I would like to express my gratitude to the council for agreeing to carry over the request not carry over the request, but agreeing to look at the $113,000 transfer before you. We had additional information in subcommittee last year, so I believe that there has been a lot of vetting of the odor issues at the plant, and knowing that the upgrade, $32 million upgrade to the plant, focused on systems and buildings and the physical plant, and that odor controls were not part of that process. So we're now what I would consider phase 3 of this project to be able to get the odor under control in the plant, and particularly for the abutters who live in the south end, who have really suffered over the years, depending on the time of year, with the odors. You have had information from Bob Rafferty, who was here tonight. So is John Tomaz, who is from the Water and Sewer Commission, who will be happy to entertain and discuss with you any questions by the time that transfer comes up for consideration. The overall plan is really in 2 phases at this juncture. We can't lose any more time, which is why we're asking tonight, so that we can get these odor control measures in place before the summer season, which is our goal. So the improvements include the perchloride dosing system, adding a carbon canister to the grit washroom vent, continuing use of new screening bagging, which has made a difference in terms of the stuff that we're pulling out of that to take to Agrisource in Ipswich, and looking at the clarifying system, and then going out to bid on the project. We are going up to look at, you heard us talk about the engineering media, which is the new media that's being used in biofilters. We're going up to look at 2 plants this week to get a sense of their satisfaction and some feedback from them on the engineered media and the biofilter. Plum Island Water and Sewer, had another conversation with John McGivney of our Rubin and Redmond legal team. We are very, very close to a settlement agreement, and we'll be coming back to you as soon as that is finalized to do an executive session regarding the particulars of that particular settlement agreement. I would also like to let you know that the $50,000 earmark that was in the FY16 budget was not subject to the 9C cuts the governor made on Friday, and so that is intact, and that money will be used. It's part of the evaluation that MIT has done about what the recommendations that we're making to upgrade the airbag system will be used with that $50,000 money. Our city marshal search is winding down. I'm very grateful to the 9-person committee that sat in and reviewed all the resumes and interviewed the candidates. We are down to the final 3. They attend the assessment center tomorrow, and from there there'll be scoring of that information, final interviews by the selection committee, and then candidates will be presented to me for final interviews. And I anticipate that by your first meeting in February, if all goes well, that I will be presenting a candidate for your confirmation in early February. Public records, I know you are aware that this has been really controversial, and the fact that our state is behind the gun in terms of updating our public records law. The House has passed their version. It's now before the Senate. I sit on the MMA policy committee, so we've been reviewing a lot of these bills that are going before the legislature. But one of the consequences is that there's going to most likely be an increase in record requests that will be asked of our city. And I think despite the fact that we try to be as transparent as possible, there is a tremendous amount of scrutiny in terms of our work, so I would anticipate that that would happen. One of the very, very strong recommendations that's coming out of that is that city councilors should no longer be using their personal emails, and that would like to set up City Hall emails for all of you as soon as possible, and we'll be moving forward with IT on that, and we'll keep you updated on that process. And finally, the school committee has already moved to school-based accounts. And finally, I would like to invite you to my State of the City. Decided that this room just doesn't really work with the projector and the space, and I interfere with your time as city council business. So this year on February 3rd at 7 o'clock, I will be giving my State of the City at the Senior Community Center. And I would very much like to see you all in attendance. And in fact, the charter does, I think, request that you be there to receive information about the State of the City. And as usual, and for new counselors, please do not hesitate to call or email if you have questions, and I look forward to finishing our meetings on your priorities and objectives for this upcoming year. Thank you for your time.
Mr. President. Mayor, just for clarification, because I think people listening casually might not have picked up what was going on with the rail trail project, who will be paying the additional, what, 3.3 up to 4.8? It's not on the cities?
They pay up to 110%. I understand that they will at times reach back and ask the city or the municipality to cover, but they never have, is what I've been told. So
You don't anticipate additional costs coming back to the
I
city?
do not.
Thank you.
I do not. Thank you. Thank you.
Move on to consent agenda.
The consent agenda consists this evening of the approval of the minutes for the December 14th meeting. There's one transfer. It's from the general fund, $242,000, North Shore Tech, $30,000, FY15 school expenses, $45,000, FY16 school expenses, $24,000, and $342,000 to high school security upgrade. That's the transfer to be referred to budget and finance. There are 5 communications. I might note, you'll see that there's now a unique identifier as we progress to the 21st century. The first communication is 001. It's secondhand motor vehicle license renewal, Plum Auto Works, to go to license and permits. Second communication is the December 2015 grant report to be received and filed. Third communication is the taxi license renewal, Seacoast Taxi, to go to license and permits, as well as Port Taxi, which will go to license and permits. Last communication is a letter to the council regarding the economic development concept for the business park, to go to planning and development. There's a first reading of 2 appointments. First is for Brendan Coffey, P.E., 7 Park Street, to the Water and Sewer Commission until May 1st, 2017. And the next is Nora Duggan at 70 Mudnut Road, Salisbury, to become a special police officer. And that is the consent agenda.
What's the wish of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move on to the regular agenda.
The regular agenda has a transfer, PRAN 002. It's for retained earnings, $113,000, and it's to sewer odor control, same amount, $113,000. Because that's the first time it's been introduced, if the will of the council is present, there's an emergency preamble that was drafted. You'll see that before the transfer.
Take a vote on the emergency preamble. Could you read it, please?
Emergency preamble states as follows: this transfer will allow the funding of the preliminary design of the odor control and facility upgrade at the treatment facility. This odor causes a public nuisance that will be exacerbated and prolonged if this measure is not voted on at its first introduction. Therefore, pursuant to Section 2-9 of the Home Rule Charter of the City of Newburyport, 2/3 of the City Council hereby affirmatively declare that an emergency exists such that this measure may be voted upon at its first introduction to this council.
Motion to approve the emergency.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Of the transfer.
Transfer is $113,000 from retained earnings to sewer odor control, same amount. Says quote to fund the preliminary design facility upgrade, as
You're gonna raise the
explained
question
in the
about the
attached
upgrade.
memorandum.
Motion to approve.
Second. Contingency.
Discussion? Council Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just so we're approving presumably the $130,000 that's really more concerned with 113 with design. Just my recollection, I'll look for some nodding of heads from water and sewer members or from sewer. This would be, the design is done, and then we start to phase in incrementally some of the measures, and some of the early ones may be quite beneficial. So just because we're going forward with 113,000 doesn't mean we automatically go to 3 point whatever million. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Council Bond?
Yes, Mr. President, and I have to credit my colleague to my left for having pointed this out. There is contained in this a 25% contingency. Now, I understand this is early in the process. People are going to have to sharpen up their pencils and try to focus in on a dollar figure at some point. But the contractor community looks at large contingencies and rubs their hands over it and says, profit. And I want to make certain that the Water and Sewer Commissioners are diligent in negotiating down the number to about a 5% contingency, which is customary in building projects, whether they be school building projects, the senior center, the Bresnahan, the high school project, the library before that. And just wanted to point that out and see if any other councilors would like to chime in on the matter.
So I just have attended a number of the Water Sewer Commission meetings, including this one. My understanding, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, none of these numbers have been released out to bid. No contractors have seen them. This was simply to give us, essentially internally, something to think about in terms of where this cost was going. And in speaking with Bob Rafferty, who's the engineer, my understanding is once this process is completed, then it can go out to bid, and that would be the time when I think the pencil sharpening is going to occur, and I don't think we'll let the cat out of the bag on anything more than we need to in terms of contingencies. That's my understanding.
If I may, I'd like to hear from the commissioners on that matter, if they would.
No, I just see. Absolutely. Go to the microphone, please. Gomez, thank you.
John Tomaz, Chairman, Sewer and Water Commission. You're absolutely right. This is kind of a base number, preliminary, trying to get an idea. And as we progress through 30%, 60, 90%, we'll start to whittle things down, get a better idea of just the scope of it and also the cost, so that when we go out to bid, 5% is normal, so
Yeah.
we'll have that there, so.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
If I may, John,
Yeah.
and I know you've been doing this for a while, and I respect your expertise in this area. I've not seen a number that high in any preliminary document, whether it was water, sewer, or any of the other city projects in the past. What's different this time?
Again, I find that to be almost, at this point, we don't really have we just have kind of a concept going. I don't find the 25% to be that unusual. I think a lot of times you'll, I don't find it to be that unusual at this point of the project to be, have a 25% contingency. Again, especially knowing that it's going to be whittled down, have a better number as we get, as we progress through design. Again, I haven't seen the schools, basic,
Yeah.
What they use at this point, so. But again, I don't find it that unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, would.
Bob Rafferty, Environmental Partners Group. Yeah, the 25% only reflects the fact that we haven't gotten refined quotes from any of the vendors and so forth, and the final scope is not really defined at this point. So it really reflects that uncertainty and expectations. This is a one-time, very unique project, so it reflects that too. As we get to, say, 35% design, we'll be down to about 15% contingency. We get to 65% design, we'll be down to 10%. We'll get those numbers finer and finer and finer. And when we go out to bid, it'll only be about a 5% contingency built in.
May I follow? And then, what is the contingency built into the design budget at this point?
The engineering budget?
Yes.
It's
The
the same.
engineering design.
Everything
It is
is
the same.
25% at this point. So as we get through the preliminary design, that will define the final scope of the design, and we can budget everything else based on that. So we have to get through this first part to know exactly what we'll be doing. We understand generally what needs to be done, but we have to get all the parts to work together. So we have all the sub-consultants involved now with electrical and air conditioning, heating, ventilation, structural, architectural, all having their piece in combined, and we'll have a better idea.
Councilor Agaman?
I just want to clarify the point raised by Councilor Cameron, but this $113,000 appropriation will be enough money. There's no contingency on that. That's going to allow you to get the scope right.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
I
there's
know
no,
that.
I want to clarify it for the record.
Yes.
So that's going to be it for this phase.
Yes.
113.
No more.
Thank you.
Councilor Rose?
We have a timeline here that has shading on it, and we have a black and white copy. I assume the original was in color. So it's a little hard to read, but we are funding this preliminary design now, which is fine. Yet the timeline goes into December of 2015 with preliminary design happening. How did preliminary design happen on a number of these items? Again, the shading may be off, so how could it have happened in December when we're just funding it now going forward?
The DPS department funded a small part to get us going at the time when we couldn't waste any time. So we had a $10,000.
So it was a pre-preliminary.
Right, so
Okay.
it allowed us to line up all the sub-consultants, get all the materials together, pull all the,
Great.
the data for them.
Excellent, thank you.
So we're ready to go.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just a quick little note on that too, and then we had started addressing the problem back in the summer, kind of identifying what the problems were, where they were at, that's what these guys are working on. So for the past probably 6 weeks, the consultant's been kind of, again, just better defining, the problem and also what the, how to address that problem. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. This 113 will essentially, again, define the project, give us the scope, and give us a better idea of what the cost will be moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Roll call?
On transfer 002, Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Agaman.
Yes.
Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Tantar.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel.
Yes.
Councilor Z.
Yes.
Council President O'Brien.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Communications, late file mayor's update, we need a motion.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Orders?
Order 001, the City Council of the City of Newburyport accepts the provisions of Chapter 200A, Section 9A, Mass General Laws, which allows a municipality to retain unclaimed funds/abandoned property as revenue for the general fund. Submitted, Councilor Charles Thomas.
Motion to refer to budget and finance.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On this, we have none. Any items? Budget and finance, anything? Nothing. Joint education?
Nothing to report.
License permits?
Nothing.
Neighboring city services?
Nothing this time.
Planning and development?
Nothing to report.
Public safety?
Nothing to report.
Public utilities?
Nothing this time.
Rules committee?
Nothing to report.
Good of the order? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Hey, Greg. It's the best way to get.
Yeah, that's good.
Crack the whip, keep it moving.
Evening after
Midnight.
5. Yeah, after midnight. After 5. Pretty much
This, they have,
any day is the same as the other.
this one was called, it's kind of,
Why, when do you prefer?
I think the low end one is,
Something other than 15 minutes before the meeting.
Well, that we can't do unless there's an agenda. You can as long as there's an agenda posted.
yeah.
We can't
Well, I
have
like
these
it, I made the
impromptu
comments
meetings
in it,
anymore.
I got what I wanted on it.
Those impromptu